Welcome, everyone. My name is Susan Allan. I am thrilled to have you with us today for our monthly Zoom event. And today we have a very special guest who is with us from Portugal, Martyn Chilvers. And welcome, Martyn.
Thank you very much, Susan.
And Martyn has a unique skill set. We've never had anyone with this skill before and this talent. And Martyn has a degree in Oriental medicine, but what's unique about Martyn is hair tissue mineral analysis, so that you can actually tell the authentic changes in somebody's health before and after using Lifewave patches for a certain amount of time. So Martyn is going to be talking about all the different experiences he's had with his own health and with so many of his clients. So this is really exciting, Martyn, a brand new modality. And Marci, as always, Marci Preble, who we love. Everybody loves Marci, truly. And we are so thrilled and grateful, Marci, that you're with us today. Again, thank you, welcome.
Lovely to be here today. Thank you for having me.
So, Martyn, let's start with your remarkable healing journey. Really a long and arduous one. Tell us at least some parts of that, please.
Well, I've basically faced a lot of trauma in my life. Some of that from the military, some of that just from the birth process at the very beginning, antibiotics, and heck knows what. And I think we'll go into that a bit more detail. But we were talking about the X39 patches and when we started those, and I started those 6 months ago. But before then, I've been doing hair tissue mineral analysis, as you were saying. And what's fascinating about hair tissue mineral analysis is that most people think it's about excesses and deficiencies of minerals, and it's not. It's actually reflective of cellular energy production. And because cellular energy production is manipulated by the stress response, it's also a stress analysis of your body at that moment. So we can look into the hair test, and through mainly calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium levels, you can get to see whether the energy is too fast and it's catabolic and destructive, whether it's too slow. Is it going into parasympathetic, rest and digest? Is it going more into sympathetic, fight or flight? Is someone in a permanent fight or flight state and therefore not healing, not rebuilding? We can see the components of energy production, including the adrenals, the thyroid, some of the most important mineral balances like the sodium, potassium, which what makes our body electric, the electrical machine that we are. And then we can also get a view into, well, what's unsettling this? What's causing a problem? Is it carbohydrate intake? Is it carbohydrate metabolism? Do we have a problem with protein intake or protein metabolism? Do we have a stress in our lifestyle, like occupation or relationships or hobbies that some people do? Is there an infection problem in the body? Are there traumas in the body? We can get this whole picture of the body. And because the hair test is a 3-month average, then you get the average of where the body is, where the cells are. Now, it can give us this insight into, okay, what do we need protein-wise or food-wise? What do we need supplement-wise? And what do we need detox-wise? That's individual to us to help us retrace. And it's that word retracing which has really got me into Lifewave, because David Schmidt talks about that. He talks about a lot about getting the protein you need, having the supplements you need to support the retracing process that the patches bring on. And it was that really excited me when I first came across Lifewave and how it fitted into what we were already doing. But what I'd finished this part with is I found the Lifewave patches to be so powerful that they're now at the center of what we do. They're the center, and the hair analysis basically gives us the information of how to support the patches best for that individual.
Remarkable, absolutely remarkable. So I know that you said that you started a number of people first just on the X39. So maybe you want to speak about a few of their experiences that you observed, because as you said, there's so much healing that's required. So tell us a little bit about this, and then we'll have Marci talk about the X39 patch.
The good thing is that I've got quite a lot of clients who are long-term clients. They're dealing with long-term problems. The advantage of that is that we've been doing hair tests every 3 to 5 months with these clients. So we've really got a feel of how the diet shifts the hair, how the supplements have shifted the hair test, how their lifestyle and changes in lifestyle and meditation have shifted the hair test. We've got a feel for the challenges they're facing. So some might have trauma patterns which are really stuck. So we see them continuously coming up on hair tests. So we've got a real feel for that. With a lot of them, when we brought in the X39, what we were able to see is some of these stuck patterns suddenly started to shift much, much quicker than what they were doing. So a classic pattern is very elevated calcium that a lot of people have. It indicates quite often hypothyroidism at the cellular level. It indicates trauma states within the body. It indicates exhaustion and also almost like a separation from life. They can't quite connect with life because there's this brick wall of calcium. In many clients, we've seen that come down really, really quickly. We've seen the autonomic nervous system balance up really, really quickly. Sometimes it happens within a test. Other times it happens over maybe 3 or 4 tests, so maybe over a month or so, or over a year or so. But what we're seeing basically is that retracing process, which we were already trying to be part of, we've just seen it speed up dramatically since introducing the patches.
Wow, that I'm learning so much from you, Martyn. You know, I've been studying health for, I don't know, 50 years, and that includes all sorts of different modalities. And I've never studied, you know, hair tissue mineral analysis, as I said. So this is incredible information for me, and I'm sure many of us, not only those who are watching now, those the thousands and thousands who will watch this on YouTube later. So Marci, would you please describe the X39 for us?
Well, absolutely. So this is what Martyn started taking, and it is the X39 stem cell activation patch. And it is a form of wearable light technology. What is wearable light technology? Well, it's a fancy word for it called photobiomodulation, which means light making change in your body. So let's take a look at one of these patches, right? It looks like a Band-Aid, I know, but if you open it up, it's so much more. Inside, there is a white material. This is actually organic crystal. It's non-transdermal. There's nothing in this patch. It's crystal. What it does is it reflects your own light. Yes, our bodies put off a low-grade infrared light. We know that's true. Martyn was in the military back in the day, and he could say, yeah, the guys use night goggles to see people at night because we have light coming off of us. This patch reflects back a light wave that activates a peptide called GHK copper peptide. This peptide activates your stem cells, makes more stem cells, and resets your stem cells to a younger, healthier state. So how do you wear it? It's super easy. You just stick it on, right? I like to say that we've kind of moved from, as modalities, pharmaceutical to supplements to food to light. We know light is real because even in your PT offices today, they're using light and red light. Light is making change in the body. So let's talk about how this changes in your body. So turns out that stem cells are the only cells in your body that are changeable. They can change into whatever cell your body needs for repair. Do you remember when you were 20 and you were just repairing all the time? And yeah, we looked young. We didn't have wrinkles. Remember, Susan? Not one wrinkle when you were 20, right? No gray hair when you were 20, right? I had the unibrow. Awesome. I wish I still had it. But that is really what stem cells do. But here's the thing. By the time you're 30, 50% of your stem cells go dormant. By the time you're 60, they're almost all dormant. They're not dead, they're dormant. What does this patch do? They just get them working again. And now we are repairing like we're young again. And I have a feeling that Martyn will be explaining better what that really means as it relates to the hair tissue analysis. But yes, that is, oh, one other thing. You wear this patch 12 hours on to activate and repair and 12 hours off. That's the only rule. Any spot will do. Your whole body's light. But the research is below the back of the neck and underneath the belly button. And you can look at the research by going to startx39now.com. The now.com, once again, startx39now.com is our international site. It has more countries on it now. It has invites to all these types of educational podcasts like we're doing right now. So that's the site that you'd want to go to. And on that site, you can go to research and patents. And under research and patents, there is a 20-year patent that says X39 does activate GHK copper peptide in the blood, which stimulates stem cells. Also, there is a tab right next to it that says GHK copper peptide. You can look at all the amazing things that GHK copper peptide does for your body. So with that, we'll bring it back to you, Susan.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. That is really remarkable. And thank you so much, Marci, for telling me about your new international site, because as many of you know, I have a whole group in Hong Kong and in Europe. So quite thrilling to have this, and I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So Martyn, you were in the military, which is basically a synonym for extreme stress. And you also had in separate ways some very, very serious injuries. So please tell us how the Lifewave patches have literally transformed all of that.
Well, I'm 51 now. By the time when I was 45 years old, my list of symptoms were basically vibrational allodynia. If people don't know what that is, it's basically an extreme sensitivity to normal touch. But the sensitivity it's like a threshold. And as long as you can keep below that threshold, which isn't a normal everyday threshold. So the threshold for me would be going out in the rain would take me over the threshold. If you hit that threshold, you would be in pain, and it would be nervous system pain. It would be all body pain. It would be overwhelming pain where you could, some nights you'd be screaming in pain because it just wouldn't go. And there was nothing you could connect with, there's nothing you could find a way to let go of it. Now, vibrational allodynia, there's three main types they talk about. There's a sensitivity to touch. So I had that one. I couldn't hold my daughter. I couldn't hold my wife. Nobody could come and hold me because it might just take me over that threshold. There's a sensitivity to temperature change. So a good example, you open the oven and you feel all that heat come out, that would trigger it, that would send it off. And there's a sensitivity to mechanical movement, so any quick movement of the body or normal movement. And I had all three. So any movement, any temperature, any touch would set it off. And then it wouldn't come down in an hour. It would at least take a day and a night's sleep, which would be horrible sleep. Or it might be 3-4 days. I also, as part of that, had post-orgasmic illness syndrome. So if I ejaculated, I would get all those symptoms plus migraine headaches. The problem is with the sensitivity, I would ejaculate in my sleep maybe once a week. So I would ejaculate, have all the symptoms, have all the pain. It would take 3, 4, 5 days for it to cycle out the system, and then I'd ejaculate in my sleep again. So it was just a vicious cycle. Migraine headaches, pain, food allergies, oxalate toxicity started to build up. At one point, I was reacting to all foods. And then I had the structural damage from everything I'd done. I'd broken my ankles. I'd damaged my back, which I'll talk about later because it's a great example of how these things layer in. I'd fallen from a scramble net. I had a fungal infection in the eye from when I was in the jungle. And so basically that retracing process, i.e. going back through all the damage you've done that was just overwhelming. There was so many things. The body was like, where do I start? Where do I begin? And so with the program I was doing, with the diet, the supplements, the detox support, I was making headway, but it was really, really fragile, really slow. And you never felt like you were on a safety. You're in a place of security and safety. You always felt like one thing could knock you off that and you'd be down in hell again. As soon as the patches came in, within 10 minutes of putting on the X39, there was just this, there was an awakening. So part of the problem is here. So this is where it got jammed, this is where it got damaged. And it was like an awakening on this side of the head. And suddenly I could feel it properly again. And suddenly I could feel it starting to try and unwind and twist. It became alive again. And then because this part woke up and all the nerves in it and the sympathetic pathways and the vagus nerve, you could then start to feel it move down and the sacrum start to move and the stomach start to open up. So since starting the patches, I basically had this feeling like I now have a foundation. I have a safety rope where if I fall, it's not going to be that far. It's not going to be 4 or 5 days. It's going to be like an hour, if maybe even less than that. So the X39 gave me that safety net, basically, to then this whole process just started moving forward.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And now, Marci, we're going to have you describe the 2 different patches we want you to describe today. We're going to have you describe the Eon, and then we're going to have you describe the X49 that Martyn's going to be speaking about in a little bit. Okay?
Absolutely. So Eon is another patch that David Schmidt makes. And by the way, David Schmidt is the owner, inventor, and CEO of our company. He started this company in 2005 before we even understood what light was. And now he has just been creating more and more technologies. And so basically, you can also go to startx39now.com under the YouTube health channel, and you can search David Schmidt Eon, David Schmidt X39, David Schmidt X49. David does 1-hour videos on every one of his technologies, and they're really good. So learn for yourself. But Eon basically activates a peptide in your stomach or in your liver that reduces inflammation. It also turns out to be the same peptide that's in the royal jelly. The reason queen bees live 50% longer than worker bees is because the peptide they eat. And guess what? We make that peptide in our liver. So not only does Eon reduce inflammation, it also increases longevity. And I think it's important to know that Eon, I like to say X39 is the workhorse of the line, and Eon is the gentle giant. It is gentle but powerful. Eon's a patch you could wear at night to help your body go into rest and digest. And my guess that this, along with X39, was really helping Martyn get into his nervous system of rest and digest. And here's the interesting thing that David says. Inflammation is an eater of stem cells. So as Martyn is activating his stem cell activity, his inflammation could be eating it. But if you reduce inflammation with Eon, it's going to turbocharge X39 to work even more powerful. So I could totally see, I like to call these very much the Lifewave patches that push our body into repair. Now, X49 is like X39 in that these are both stem cell activation patches. The other patches are not stem cell activation patches. They activate other things in your body or other pathways in your body through photobiomodulation, light making change in your body. But X49 stimulates a pathway called AHK. That is the daughter peptide of GHK. Well, turns out that the daughter peptide is just as powerful as the mama. So what does AHK do? It builds lean muscle mass. It helps to burn fat. It supports your brain and your heart and blood pressure. It helps to grow bones, and it protects you from cell phone radiation. So when Martyn talks about the patches he likes very much for what his nervous system is going through, and he said X39 and X49 and Eon for inflammation, that did not surprise me. So with that, Susan, let's get back to you.
Thank you, sweetie. That is so brilliant and so concise. And again, everybody has to go to startx39now.com today before you go to sleep, because when Marci puts out a new website, which she just did with this, it makes your life so simple, because every one of you want every single member of your family to be healthy. You want every one of them to have health, because that changes their disposition, because the opposite definitely changes their disposition. And so be sure that you explain to them. And, you know, Marci and I have 31 videos on YouTube right now on my YouTube channel. You hear it at the end. And Marci's got a gazillion others that you'll see. So thank you, Marci.
Absolutely.
Back to you, Martyn. Okay, you spoke about sodium, magnesium, potassium, and calcium, and how that is affected with Lifewave patches and what you've discovered with hair tissue mineral analysis. Tell us, please.
I'm going to give you a bit of an example of one of the traumas I had. When I was in the Marines, after about 8 months of training, you then go into the commando course, which is 4 weeks long, and it's arduous, and you're keeping awake, and you're carrying heavy packs on your back. And in the last week, you've got the 4 tests, and these are the tests that give you the green beret. So on the 3rd test is called the Tarzan Assault, and it's a higher rope course, basically. And I fell off it, being me. So I fell off from 20th, and I had a weapon on my back, and I landed right on my back. And this sort of gives you an idea of the hair mineral analysis, because there was a few things that happened there. First of all, I had the fall and I landed. So bang, there's the fall. But then there's a whole new layer on top of that, because then my mind's going, if I don't get up and if I don't do this, I'm not going to get my green beret. After 8 months of all this work, I'm not going to get to the end. So I had to then get up and try it again. And I failed the second time too. Now, so I had the damage, I had the emotion of I have to suppress this. Then I had the disappointment of not passing it. I had, my kidneys were bleeding at that point. So when I went to the med center, I could hardly breathe because of the spinal damage and the rib cage, which seized up. And
You have to get to the good news fast, because
I will. And the
depression.
next
No,
day,
I'm serious. We're all going to go into depression and anxiety. Tell us.
The next day I had to do the 30 miler. So then I had another layer. Now on the hair test, you see all those different layers. You see the effect of one, then the effect of the other, then the effect of the other. That's retracing. That's what we do. That's how we heal. So with the program and with the patches, what we've seen is those calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium have started to shift around a lot more. And they've gone into patterns which are really healing patterns. So one of the first patterns mine went into, we call it a hill pattern, which was low calcium, high magnesium, which is low resistance to change, and high sodium and low potassium, which is a lot of energy to change. So we've seen these patterns change in very beneficial ways. A lot of people have high calcium. We've seen those come straight down with going on the patches much, much quicker than they would have done with the hair analysis. So I used a lot of the patches, as Marci said. I used the X39, that started the process. When I brought in Eon to reduce the inflammation, it was this almost like this calming effect, like this cool river came over the body and calmed it. The X49 seemed to increase the intensity of the X39, but also calm it down in a strange way. So then you felt the body relax more, but again, feel more stable, feel more healthy, and started to work through those. The ice wave took the pain off that was existed in the muscular system anymore. The glutathione was fantastic, but you wear it every so often because of the detox. The one I really loved though was Nirvana. So when a lot of the damage I'd done, when the body got knocked, the brain would go into panic, like, oh my God, what's going to happen again? I'm going to go into that horrible traumatic area again. What I found with Nirvana was when the body got knocked, the brain didn't react. The brain stopped, it didn't go down that route of panic. It started to go, this is okay. You've been knocked, but it's not major. You'll be fine. And then carnosine, again, just seemed to add a whole new power to that process.
Beautiful. Now, we're going to talk very briefly about a number of different clients of yours because we don't want to run out of time. So just very briefly what the challenge was, if you would. For example, the client who wanted to harvest some eggs for future pregnancy. And then, just wow, all the good news from Lifewave would really inspire all of us.
So I had a client, she was 44. She wanted to save her eggs. She'd had a few attempts, but it was very moderate success. So they hadn't really got any excellent viable eggs. And she had a cyst on the ovaries. Her hormones were imbalanced, so they were struggling on that side. And on the hair test, we saw quite exhausted patterns when we had a look at them, and also patterns indicating low fertility within there. The hair test can look into the hormones very much. As soon as we introduced the patches, after about a month or so, she got back to me and she said, I cannot believe what's happened. I've gone for my next egg retrieval. We've got 3 viable eggs, of which they're classed, all 3 of them, as excellent. My hormone balance has improved. The placenta had improved and the cyst on the ovary was gone. Now, this lady had also been through a divorce. So she was depressed for a long period, struggling to get out of bed and that type of thing. What happens after the divorce, it was blindsided her very much so. And after she told me about the fertility, she said, do the patches help your mental state? Because I've never been happier. I feel happy. I have purpose in life. I feel like I have the strength to face anything. And it's ever since I put on those patches. So that one was, and that happened a month, 2 months. When we got her next hair test, her adrenal function had improved, her thyroid activity had improved, her energy production had improved. And what was really interesting, because she had included glutathione with the X39, was that she had eliminated a lot of mercury, much more than what she had before. So there was a
beautiful
mercury elimination.
Fabulous. Thank you. Now, the next one, how did you get rid of the heat rashes for the lady in her 80s?
She was 85, whole body heat rash, itching all over, and insomnia, couldn't sleep. We used the X39. The first night of using the X39, she had a full night's sleep. And then over the next 2 weeks, the heat rash went, the itching went, and her sleep has pretty much maintained itself. Also, interestingly, we just got back her next hair test. Her calcium level was normally well over 100. For the first time, it moved into the normal range.
Beautiful. Thank you. And there's a 60 or so year old man who suffered childhood trauma. What did you see as a result of the Lifewave patches for him?
So he primarily used the X39 initially. He was in a pattern on the hair test called 4 lows, which is a really exhausted, tired pattern where the body's just exhausted from the stress it had been through. And as soon as we put on the X39, he immediately was, wow, the energy I've had, but also more than that, the dreaming, the emotions that have come up, the ability to work through those emotions, to process those emotions. So he's now introduced X39. He loves Alavida patch. He's been using the Eon patch with it, and it's the same process. He's getting all these emotions up, but they're not scary to him anymore. He's able to process them, work through them, and then move on beyond them, and then the next things work through. So he's had a fantastic experience on them.
Thank you. And I know there's a woman in her early 50s, digestive issues went away or were healed, food allergies, part of that, and also brain fog. So if you would tell us about her.
Yes, so on her previous HTMA, she had a very elevated calcium. So there's your brain fog, there's your tiredness, there's your exhaustion. But that can also cause digestive issues as the calcium builds up within the liver and the digestive system. She had poor adrenal, poor thyroid activity, and very high mercury. So again, we just started using the X39. And within a week, her energy levels were better. She was feeling better. Her mental clarity was better. She wasn't feeling like sleeping in the evening, but also the bloating went down. She found that she could now tolerate more foods and other digestive things, like she was always getting constipation, diarrhea, constipation. That started to steady out overall. We got a hair test back. Again, improved adrenal function, improved thyroid function, much better balance of the minerals. So again, that happened very quickly, but we're now continuing to see deeper improvement.
Beautiful. And we have a few minutes for you to talk about additional clients of yours who've had wonderful results. So again, just really briefly, what they were suffering, and what people really want to hear is which patches, where did you put them, how quickly did things start to turn around? That kind of inspiring info.
Okay, very simple these. Most of these are X39. So I had a lawyer who was incredibly stressed, very anxious, and struggling in her work. She had a lot of symptoms. We saw them all on the hair test. She started using X39, and within a week, her comment back to me was, I feel so confident when I wear the patches. So for her in her job as a lawyer, having to do all those high business working activities, that was just everything she needed. I had another client who just got back to me recently. Now, she said, and this is really interesting for those people who don't necessarily notice things initially. She said she started and she said, I didn't feel much with the X39. Sometimes I didn't wear it. Sometimes I did. I started to wear it more, but I didn't feel much. But what she does is that she has a very high-tech heart rate variability analysis set. And she'd been using that. And when she started that in September, her what they call her calendar age was basically the same as her biological age. When she started using the X39 and then she retested, she was absolutely stunned. It came back and it basically said her biological age was now 12 years younger than her calendar age. And that took just a month. She also, the program came back about her energy levels being better, her chakras being better, and just her feeling better. So she's now absolutely looks at the patches and go, wow, I can't believe that happened.
And this is interesting because we didn't discuss this before the show. So I did not know that hair tissue mineral analysis had a biological and cellular information option.
Well, that she got that from her heart rate variability testing equipment, and we haven't seen her new hair test yet. So we've still got to see her new hair test based on the energy. But at the end of the day, the energy is mental, physical, and emotional expression. So you get to see all of that in the hair test.
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful. And, you know, I've been working as a coach with people on every possible life situation, like avoiding court for divorce so you don't go into PTSD, for example, and also how to communicate with yourself so that you don't have these illnesses become, you know, chronic for longer than they absolutely need to do. A lot of that has to do with your thinking about them and your communication about them. So it's fascinating to me that there's a way now for you, Martyn, to assess whether people have transformed this issue, not only of illness, but of the chronological aging that is a component of illness for so many people like you and me who've gone through exceedingly unpleasant stuff. And we'll just leave it at that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there someone else you'd like to speak of in the last few minutes?
The last one we can look at is, where was it? I had it down here sometime. No.
Anybody that's a child or anybody that's a teenager that you might have worked with would be interesting as well, or a young adult, college student, that kind of thing?
What I have got is my own daughter who was struggling with a lot of skin rashes on her body that we were working with, and we used the X39, and they took about 3 weeks to clear up. And she'd
Wow.
had those for about the last 2 years.
Wow, that is really, really thrilling. Thank you. Thank you. So this has been a very unique show for those of you like me who weren't familiar with hair tissue mineral analysis and how you can actually assess before and after with Lifewave, which is really, really fascinating. And when I upload this to the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Susan Allan 2001, and that's ALLAN. You'll be able to find all of Martyn's contact information. And also, we do this show only once a month. So the next show is on October 13th. Again, it's always Pacific time, 1 o'clock and 4 p.m. on the East Coast and various times around the world, because Martyn, you are, of course, in Portugal, though from Scotland. And it's been wonderful to have all of you with us today. We really, really appreciate it. And if Lifewave patches are brand new to you, please be sure, contact your friend who told you about them. Contact your friend who told you about this Zoom event that we do once a month. And thank you, Martyn Chilvers. Thank you so much. Thank you, Marci Preble. And I am very, very excited to see you guys in 1 month on October 13th. And have a wonderful month. Bye.